Before the outbreak, I was a lieutenant in a private military organization. I was all over the world fighting for warlords, dictators, and different humanitarian organizations. Thinking back on it, I can see a little of irony. Fighting for a dictator, and a few months after, I was defending humanitarians in the same regions against my former employee. I guess I did not have so much honor back then, but the pay was good. I had several cars, some apartments, and even a villa. But none of that matters now. The money I had in my Swiss bank account was gone when the outbreak started, and all I had left was my worldly possessions. But they only got me that far. What is a car without gas, or an apartment in a city with human-eating creatures all around? So I did what everyone else did. Grabbed my trusted guns, my ammo and some food, then entered the streets in search for shelter and supplies. I saw several civilians trying to do the same. Some of them looked like they knew what they were doing, and some was complete rookies. Rookies, shooting their guns at everything in terror and just wasting their ammo. When they encountered an infected, they just emptied the entire magazine in the body, doing nothing but wasting ammo. I mean, come on man, haven't you seen a zombie movie? Destroy the brain, or blow up the damn thing. I remember one family, probably a senator or someone with plenty of money. There were 2 males and 2 females, guarded by a team of 7 black-suited goons. All I could think of was how the entire group looked like something out of a movie. However, they did not pay me any attention, and I was carefully moving towards a room with shelter. A rumors of a shelter was circulating just a few hours after everything went to hell made no sense to me. The day had started all normal. Then with the blink of an eye, people had just been dropping dead where they stood just to reanimate a few minutes after. Well, enough of the start of the day. The goons used their pistols pretty well, most likely law enforcement or former soldiers, but they had no silencer or any mean of defending themselves in close combat. Thanks to that, they drew more infected towards them, and I could hear their shocked screams. One of the goons, a big muscular man, didn't see an infected male behind the hood of a truck, and I remember the infected lashing forward to sink his teeth deep in the man's thigh, biting through the flesh and into the muscle. Then I did it. I have no idea why I did it. Perhaps it was my subconsciousness that wanted me to do some good in the end of the world. I started to shoot the infected, headshot, with my silenced HK-416. The horde thinned out pretty fast. If the surviving goons got some kills so the horde was smaller than it looked, I don't know. Anyhow, when the horde was gone, the ground was covered in flesh, bones and brain tissue. It was just a street of blood and gore. The family was still alive somehow, splattered with the remains of the infected. The men were pale and the females were just in shock. Of the goons, only 2 were still alive. One of them was a muscular man who had been bitten in the thigh. His face was pale, and his eyes were glued to his leg, most likely knowing what would happen to him. He raised his gun and shot himself right in the head. All I could think of was, damn, that guy had the balls to do it. After a few minutes, when the civilians were back to their senses, the older man of the 4 civilians asked me to escort them to their shelter. He said he would pay me in cash when we got there. I took the offer. I was a bit tempted to just kill them all and take the money, but as a mercenary I had my pride, no matter how foolish the employer was. On our way, the old man invited others. Civilians, 1 or 2 police officers, and some soldiers from the National Guard that somehow had managed to gather. None of them got on the old man's payroll though, which just meant more cash for me. Somehow, our sizable group reached the shelter 4 hours later. All I could say when we arrived was, so it was just not a rumor. The shelter was an enclosed apartment building. Cement walls around the building and a thick cast iron gate. The old man approached me with a backpack. reached down with his hand and shoved me a bankroll of sweet hard cash. I took the money and said farewell to my company. I was safe in a shelter. Well, they called it an outpost. An outpost indicates that there are several of them around and all guarded and in contact with each other, which I highly doubted, since it had been less than 8 hours since the dead came back to drag us down with them. I found an empty corner in the apartment building and refilled my magazines. Took inventory of the goods I grabbed before I left my place. It felt like days had passed, and not just hours, since I woke up in my bed with plans of going to the range and the gym. Now the bloody apocalypse seems to have occurred, and here I sat. After that incident, I kept working as a mercenary again. Plenty of rich survivors who wanted things from all around the area. Mostly they wanted their children or something important from their house. I even accepted a contract from a guy who wanted his old porn collection. Can you understand that? In the end of a world, a guy just wanted his old porn collection. Seriously, why porn of all things? I also did some escort jobs. People who wanted to get to another rumored outpost for different reasons. Family, friends, merchants and just drifters. I guess you can count me as a drifter. I roamed the country, looting, accepting contracts and trying to find a reason for living and not put a bullet in my head. I have no family, no friends or a place to call my own. Sure, I can make my own little outpost, but what's the point in that? Living all alone again. I guess I'm tired of being alone. Sometimes I'm not the only protection someone hires for a job though, and I've started to recognize a few of the other guys. I guess they are sort of my friends. Well, duty calls. I'm going to escort some merchants to a nearby outpost. My friends would join as well. Friends. I guess that's something to live for. That's what you can call my zombie apocalypse origin story. A plain day that ended in chaos and me coming out from my retirement as a mercenary. To once more live the life of blood and gore, accepting contracts, and having one hell of an adventure.